you are not a child actor. I think people have this idea of you as a kid actor, but you really were in your 20s when you became a film person, a television person.
Well, I don't really know what people think about me, and that's probably a good thing, or I don't know what ideas they have about me, but certainly I didn't start acting until I was 21. So I was a young man. Certainly had lived a life already, a life that didn't include any expectations of the dreams that I would one day achieve, some of the dreams. But no, I wasn't in this business at all. I was very far from it. I knew nothing of it and imagined it little, and when I did, it seemed something that was, I always thought that people that were made music or in bands or were actors or in that part of the world were kind of like royalty. I thought you had to be born into it or anointed. I didn't realize when I was young that you could actually work your way into it. So it was kind of a fantastical thing to me.
So when it was happening, was that pleasurable? Were you just exploring and going with it? Or?
Yeah, when it started happening, it certainly is. It's pleasurable. It's also painful. It's a masochistic choice, and I always say to people that if you think you want to be an artist, not even just a musician or an actor, but an artist in general, I think a really creative person, you have to be compelled beyond a reasonable doubt. Because if you aren't, it's not worth the heartache. It's not worth the psychological warfare. And certainly there are harder jobs out there, but it is one that's unique in its demolition of one's own ego and the uncertainty and imbalance. You know, as an actor, it's a funny thing. Every time you have a job, it's your last job, possibly. You're unemployed all the time. Your career can come and go. Just because you work really hard doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily fall in your favor. You have to rely on quite a few other people to work really hard and deliver, you know. And
then fortune also.
Exactly.
You don't know whether the film is going to work just because you're the best intentions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to lean back a little if that's okay. Yeah, you don't know if the film is going to work either. So there's a number of things. There's just a lot of instability and there's a lot of imbalance, but there are also some really high peaks and an incredible climb, a lot of reward, a lot to learn, you know, really fascinating thing to create stories and to tell stories and to make things and share things with people, to touch people's lives in a really deep and meaningful way. It's a gift, a very rare and weird, you know, modern thing to do, and to be applauded for that is a bizarre thing as well, because the process applauds you enough, you know. So then to get the other stuff is incredible.
So was that what it was like for you from the early days? I mean, did you start with it kind of seeing it that way and approaching it that way, or did it take a while for you to figure out that this was a serious thing and you were going to be invested in that way, on that level?
I started out a painter, an artist. I really had no aspirations to ever be an actor. I was a visual artist, and you know, I think I still approach things in that way, in creative problem solving. But when I was in art school, I started taking photography class, and then that led to a film class. I was also taking, you know, sculpture and pottery and two-dimensional, three-dimensional design, all kinds of things. But for some reason, I latched on. I really loved photography, but I needed more. And then something about film seemed to encompass everything that I was looking for. You know, time and movement, and the ability to work and control kind of greater parameters, or work within greater parameters and have more control. But I started studying more avant-garde video art and film, fine art film, and certainly not traditional Hollywood narrative, although I loved that, and that was a real interest of mine. But my plan was I would drop out of art school and I'd get a job as an actor, and that would help me get a job as a director. So that came at it through that way. So certainly not, brought into this as a child, or, thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to be famous and make movies, which can be a fun thing, I'm sure, for some, but it wasn't on my radar.
So is there a point where you decided directing was not going to be your thing? Was it? No,
it's become a really big part of my life. I've been spending so much time behind the camera more and more over the past 10 years. I've done a lot of work under a pseudonym, Bartholomew Cubbins, which is the worst kept secret in town now, but I started it years ago using it so I could kind of work anonymously, and that's been wonderful. I've learned a lot. And in the 6 years that I hadn't made a film recently, that's what I was doing, is spending a lot of time behind the camera. I have a documentary, a feature-length documentary. It just came out in December as well. It's on iTunes now. It's called Artifact. But I've been working steadily, and I'll probably make a narrative film within the next year or two.
So what is your relationship with a director as an actor? Is it
painful? Unless it's Fincher or Aronofsky. Jean-Marc was great. For me, it makes the relationship with directors difficult unless they are great at what they do, and then I'm in awe. But certainly the minute you make a mistake and step on set and you're underwhelmed, it can be challenging, because of course you see solutions where other people see problems, so there can be friction there. Not that it ever turns into something. I always get along great with my directors, whether they're winning or failing. I've always been kind of director-centric and have a lot of respect for the director.
So when you have a great director, particularly, are you a tool? Do you make yourself a tool of the director, or are you looking for an interactive relationship?
Well, when I'm working with a great director, I think great directors hire people they really trust. Part of being a great director is being a great manager, a great leader, a great producer, and working with people that you can delegate tasks to. The greatest directors know they hire the greatest actors, and the greatest actors bring them things which they can use. So the actors aren't necessarily tools, but partners and collaborators, and fishermen and fisherwomen, women, and they go out and bring things. They hunt and gather and bring things, I suppose. So I think the relationship for me has always been one of trust, and you're on an adventure together. Certainly in the case of Dallas Buyers Club, it was, I had a very deep understanding and commitment and connection to the character of Rayon, and the door's always open for the director to jump in and join that journey and that process. I think Jean-Marc was really respectful and excited about what I was bringing to the table, and there was a lot of there wasn't a lot of friction there at all. It was wonderful.
So how much time did you put into Rayon before you ever got to set or near set?
Well, I only had about 3.5 weeks to prepare, so it was very intensive, very fast, furious, and a great way to do this kind of role, because it was so immersive, it was so challenging. So it was a nice way to get inside her skin. And the shoot was like that too. It was great.
Was it so it was improved by what was lacking in terms of time? And
I think so. I enjoy making films like this. There's not a lot of waiting around. That can be the death for an actor. Is you know, hurry up and wait. It's not the time it takes to do the takes, it's the time between the takes that takes the time, right? And that's just the curse of a shoot. You know, especially these days when they make, you know, some of those really big films, there's a lot of preparation time for every setup, every shot. So that can be a challenge, and I guess you just have to adjust. But as far as character work and deep immersive character work like Rayon, I mean, this is the way to do it. Dallas Buyers Club, you know, fast shoot, really intense, 25 days, no lights, no rehearsal, go, 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 go.
So what happened 3 weeks before that, or that you suddenly knew you were going to jump into this?
Well, I hadn't read a script in almost, I hadn't read a script in years. I hadn't made a movie in almost 6 years.
And you just said, stop sending them to me, I'm not doing that?
Yeah, kind of. I think after a few years, you know, of
they
like,
stop sending them?
They start to believe that you're, you know, serious, and you're not really looking to go to work. But fortunately, this came up and someone sent it to me, and you know, was persistent. And I read it and I fell in love. I thought it was a great opportunity. I also knew that it was time for me to make a film, because there was a chance I would never make a film again if I didn't make this one. Because, you know, that's a long time to go by willingly. It was, you know, and I had a life that was very full and fulfilled, and, you know, I didn't feel lacking. But I knew I owed it to myself to take another look, and I'm glad I did.
So you really didn't miss acting, particularly at that point, it sounds like.
Well, there were parts of it. I mean, I love filmmaking. I love the process. I love actors, and it's a really inspiring thing. But, you know, I had other lovers. You know, I was not like I wasn't satisfied. You know, out of sight, out of mind, maybe that sort of thing. But I knew that, you know, it was time to come back, and I'm glad I did with this.
So does it whet your beak for more, or is it does it get you excited about doing more acting?
Oh yeah. I mean, this certainly makes me, this and all the other great films out this year, it makes me want to make more film. You know, whether it's watching Redford and All Is Lost, you know, that's inspiring. It makes me want to be an actor. Wolf of Wall Street makes me want to be an actor. 12 Years a Slave makes me want to be an actor. And a director and a producer. You know, it inspires me to be a part of this world. You know, those are really wonderful films, and it's all the sweeter to be nominated alongside these people and their projects.
What's interesting, because those couple movies, you know, Leo is a producer on his movie.
Oh, is he?
A producer on his movie.
Oh, great.
And, you know, they're both into production companies as well as acting. And it feels like this generation of actors, the boundaries don't seem to be as tightly held as they used to be.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there have been great actor-producers for decades. People that have had great success, and also actor-directors. But I think a lot of boundaries and barriers have been taken down and broken. You know, even actors, musicians. That happens sometimes too. And I think that's just a sign of the times. You also see, you know, painters that making great films, whether it's Steve McQueen or Julian Schnabel. You know, and that's a good thing. I think that people can offer other things in different areas.
Do you have boundaries for yourself? I mean, do you think like that, or is it even an issue?
I don't really think in terms of boundaries, but what I think it's important to do is to say no to things like I've done in my life, so that you can excel in other areas, because sometimes you need to focus on your knitting. You need to really dive deep and stay decisive. And when I make a film, I shut everything else out and I focus on that film. So you have to prioritize, because you don't want to do many things and do them not so well.
And is it the moment? I mean, Rayon, fairly short